Hello, I'm Ollie and this is Criminolly, where I talk about crime, pulp, horror, that kind of thing. Today, killer centipedes and sexy mermaids. It's my weekly wrap-up. So this will be my weekly wrap-up covering the end of August, so the end of Garb August, which is where the killer centipedes and sexy mermaids come in, and then the beginning part of September. Three things before I start. So the first one is I'm not very well at the moment. I've got some kind of virus, not COVID if the tests are to be believed, but I feel like crap. And I'm very tired and struggling to string sentences together. So if this video is even more of a garbled mess than most of my videos, then apologies, that's why. And if I have to, if there are more edits than normal in this video, it's because I've had to pause it to cough my guts up. So yes, we'll see how I get on. So that was the first thing. The second thing is there's a new reading event coming in October, which I think is going to be fantastic. So it's Occult Detective October. I will do a fuller video on it with some recommendations and things like that later on in September, but definitely one to look out for. It's been created by MJ from the channel Reading This Life, and I was very grateful that she asked me to be one of the co-hosts of it. So as the title suggests, it's a month dedicated to reading books about occult detectives. So occult detectives are basically like detectives who investigate the supernatural. So some good examples would be like Jim Butcher's Dresden Files books, or John Constantine, the comic character, but there are like dozens and dozens of examples. So I'll do a video, like I say, later in the month with some suggestions, and I will link to MJ's announcement video in the description for this one, so you can check that out. The other thing I will link to is the Occult Detective magazine website. So I've featured Occult Detective magazine on the channel before. It's a really, really good magazine that publishes articles about occult detective fiction and also short fiction. On their website, you can download an issue, so issue 0 of Occult Detective magazine, you can download for free. So that will give you an idea of the kind of thing I'm talking about. So I'll link to that in the description and you can check it out. And then the third thing is I'm changing the end screen on my video, so I don't know if anyone watches far enough to get to the end screen, but right at the end of my videos you'll get a screen with a picture of me and links to like 2 videos, like one of which will be recommended by YouTube, and one of which is like a link to a playlist of mine. And then in the middle, currently, or in the past, there's been a link to my Patreon. I'm conscious that a lot of people watch my videos on TVs and things like that and can't click links. So that middle link I'm going to replace with a QR code. So you will, if you're watching it on your phone or a laptop or something like that, you'll still be able to click it. If you're watching on TV, you can just hold up your smartphone and take a picture of it and like scan it, and it will take you to my link tree where you get all of the links to my different social media sites like Instagram, Goodreads, my Patreon, my Discord server. So you can check those out. So just an easier way for you to access other ways that you can interact with me should you want to. Obviously, no obligation. Right, so that's the 3 things out of the way. So in terms of what I've read this week, so I think I've got 8 books to talk to you about. And as I said, most of them are Garb August related ones, so some shorter, quicker reads. I decided towards the end of Garb August I was just going to try and finish this monster, Battlefield Earth by L. Ron Hubbard, which I'm kind of a bit stalled on. I am still reading it, but I'm not like prioritising reading it, let's put it that way. I'm reading a bit every so often in between other things. I'm determined to finish it though, I'm not going to let it beat me. So I decided to read some other shorter things that I had kind of on my shelves, both physical and digital shelves, and also try and read a few things that I'd had sent in from authors or publishers that felt like they could kind of fit with the Garb August theme. So anyway, in terms of what I've read then, so I read a really fun kind of creature feature book called Killerpede by a British author called Marek Z. Turner. So this, as the title suggests, is about killer centipedes set in rural Devon in the UK. Had an interesting like range of different characters. The heroine is like a reporter who's reporting on this quarry that's been reopened by this shady businessman, and as a result of that reopening, these killer centipedes have been unleashed. So I had some good kills in it, particularly the prologue. The prologue was fantastic. So I had some good kills, some good characters, just a fun creature feature type read. Sorry, I'm struggling to string a sentence together. So yeah, that one definitely worth checking out. And I'll probably do another video soon where I do kind of short reviews of a few indie things I've read. So that was one of them. Another one I read was Darkness Below by Barbara Cottrell, which is the first in a series set around Miskatonic University. So Miskatonic University obviously comes from like the Lovecraft universe, if you like. And this story is about a student there who basically the setup is that the fiction that Lovecraft wrote and the fiction that Lovecraft inspired that other authors have written is actually like a reflection of the truth. And people study those texts at Miskatonic University. So this is about this young woman there who gets involved in all sorts of like weird goings on. So kind of a mix of horror and adventure, but really it was a very entertaining read. I had a good time with it. And then the other kind of indie thing, or thing that I'd been sent for review, should we say, that I'd read, was this Mermaid of Venice by Jincey Lumpkin, the first in a series of books about this killer mermaid called Gia. This was so much fun, and it was super trashy, super Garb August suitable. So basically, this mermaid is effectively a serial killer who kills all of her lovers. This is basically a romance novel about her latest romance with this guy who's like the kind of millionaire playboy son of like a media tycoon. And it's about their relationship. So very steamy at times, very saucy, but also carries throughout it the fact that you know that Gia, the heroine, who's quite likeable, murders her lover. So it starts with her murdering her previous lover, and there's kind of an investigation into that murder that continues through the book. So it just had a bit of everything, this book, and I really had a very good time with it indeed. Thoroughly recommended if you fancy a bit of spicy mermaid serial killer action, and who doesn't. So other things I read then, so I read a kind of trashy paperback from hell, Fallen Angel by Michael Avallone, the first of the Satan Sleuth series. So this would be another good example of occult detective fiction. So the Satan Sleuth is a guy who's, so in this first kind of origin story type thing, his wife is murdered by a gang of Satanists who are like that kind of typical 70s punk gang of just like slightly deranged kind of teenagers / 20-somethings. Who are kind of high on drugs and sex and murder brutally rape and murder his wife. And it's about him getting his revenge on them. So it was kind of a fun 70s revenge thriller in some ways, with kind of occult / supernatural overtones, a very kind of overblown style to the writing. So it reminded me a bit of the Doc Savage books in terms of its description of the Satan Sleuth as this kind of almost superhuman character, and like how he gets all the stuff he needs together for his missions and stuff like that. But also incredibly homophobic, like even by kind of 70s standards, it felt nastily homophobic. So trigger warning for that should you read it. Something a bit more modern, so I also read Nunchuck City by Brian Asman, or Asman, I'm never sure how you pronounce his surname, which is as the title suggests, so it's kind of a kind of throwback pastiche to like 80s action movies and video games like Streets of Rage. So about a bunch of characters in this city where there's kind of ninjas roaming about and stuff like that. So very deliberately over the top, very silly, very funny at times. Just a good time, just a fun, silly read. So I enjoyed that. And then the other thing I read on Kindle was the Charnel Caves by Guy and Smith. So the 8th, I think it was, and final of the Crabs books. So written shortly before Guy and Smith died. So like a killer crab book, basically. So if you've read any of the Guy and Smith crab books, you know what to expect. Giant killer crabs roaming around, like dismembering people, basically. But also in this book, there's a scene where they take on a Russian submarine, which was pretty fantastic. So that was it was very short, it's only like 100 pages, but a good time. I enjoyed that. Physical things then. So I also read this, which is a book I think I picked up last year for Garb August and didn't get to, Airport Cop by Charles Miron. So a kind of mid-70s police procedural type thing, but set around John F. Kennedy Airport. It was a bit hard to follow at times, to be honest with you. There were like loads of characters in it, and I did struggle a bit to keep track of who they all were, but some decent plot lines running through it, including one about a hit on a mafia guy who's flying into the airport, and some kind of quite punchy dialogue, and a couple of really good set pieces as well. So not fantastic. The cover is perhaps the best thing about this book, but it was an entertaining read nevertheless. I think that's everything that I read for Garb August, and then since Garb August I've also read this Bag of Bones by Stephen King. So part of my Stephen King project where I'm reading all the Stephen King books that I haven't read yet, of which I think there's kind of 10 or 12, something like that. So this is the first one, like chronologically, that I hadn't read. I bought a copy of it when it came out, and then for whatever reason DNF'd it. I think I DNF'd it fairly quickly. But actually I really enjoyed it, so I'm going to do a video review of this and talk about my thoughts on it a bit more. But it was a good read, some kind of atmospheric kind of ghosty type horror, but also a really good second plot line about like a custody case, basically. But yeah, I had a really good time with this. I did enjoy it a lot. Okay, so that's what I've read. In terms of channel stuff then, so in the week just gone, you've had my announcements video about the Garbology anthology, so an anthology of trashy fiction, which I'm going to be putting together with Troy Treadup, and which will be published next year for Garb August 2024. So if you are interested in submitting a story for that, check out that video. There's a link there to my website where you can see full submission details. If you've got any questions, just ask in the comments or email me or whatever. But we're looking for submissions from anybody who wants to send something in of like trashy short fiction. Also did my TBR for Shorty September. I did a book haul video and did a video about why I make book reviews, basically why I think it's important that people review books. In the week ahead then, so I'm going to do my Garb August wrap up. I was going to do that as a single video, but given that I'm feeling crap and I can feel myself flacking now, and this video has only been like 12 minutes long, I'm going to do it in two parts because I've got 40 books to talk about, which is a bit ridiculous. So I think that's too much for one video for you to watch, and definitely at the moment too much for one video for me to film. So I will do that in two parts, which will probably go up on Sunday and Monday. I'm also, as I've said, going to do a review of Bag of Bones, and also a video. There's a really good tag going around that was created by Shelley Swearingen, just talking about like BookTube and why you enjoy BookTube, what you've got out of BookTube as a creator. So I'm going to do that as well because it was a nice kind of reflective video about the whole experience of making videos and talking about books on YouTube. So yes, going to do that as well. Right, I'm going to stop now because I need to go and have a cup of tea at a Lebsip. Do check out the new style end screen with that scannable link that you can, say the QR code you can scan on your mobile phone if you're watching this on our TV. But yeah, I will leave it there. Do let me know what you've been reading for the end of Garb August and the beginning of September and Shorty September. So I forgot to say Shorty September happening this month. A fantastic reading event hosted by Pastory Time and the Soggy Expat Book Nerd, which celebrates short fiction basically, or not even fiction, shorter books. So check out my TBR video for more information on that. But anyway, yeah, hope you've had good reading weeks. And what do I normally say? Thank you very much for watching. Hope you're safe and well out there. Hope you're really good stuff. And I'll speak to you again very soon. Cheerio.